Welcome back to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott. There's lots to get through in this episode, so let's jump right in. Upward of 25,000 National Guard members were stationed all around a lockdown capital in Washington this week, as police and military authorities sought to fortify the area around President Joe Biden's inauguration. The troops set up an expansive perimeter in Washington, D.C., with the aim of deterring more violent rioting around the inaugural events. For a look at the unprecedented Guard presence, the Military Times team was on hand in the city.
With the inauguration of President Joe Biden taking place amidst potentially violent tensions in the United States, the Capitol has become a virtual fortress, likened by some to the military green zone around the U.S. compound in Baghdad. Because of several threats and a deadly riot at the Capitol, some 25,000 National Guard members from across the United States were called up to defend and patrol the area around Capitol Hill. They were armed with M4 rifles, riot gear, and streets in all directions around the inauguration site were cordoned off. Authorities went to stunning lengths to protect the ceremonies. The FBI screened thousands of troops for signs of extremist activities, and a dozen were eventually dismissed from inauguration duty. Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy spoke about the FBI vetting process earlier in the week.
January 6th, there were representatives from all of the services who were at the rally when it started on the ellipse and then migrated towards the Capitol. So the question is that all of them? Are there others? So it's clearly something we need to be conscious of inside the entire formation, let alone men and women that may be assigned to this operation here in the Capitol. We've also been vetting them through the FBI, getting support from the Federal Bureau of Investigation to continue the vetting of every man and woman that come here. We have a process through our JRSOI process where we vet them. So we're continually going through the process and taking second, third looks at every one of the individuals assigned to this operation.
With troops ready to serve, the U.S. Marshal Service deputized several thousand Guard members earlier in the week, which gives them some law enforcement capability.
I will perform the duties of the Special Deputy United States Marshal
with integrity, professionalism, and impartiality.
The historic show of force appeared to have worked. No protests like the one seen on January 6th when rioters stormed the Capitol in support of President Trump had materialized or interrupted the ceremony, and streets around the inauguration site were mostly calm. And as calm as it seemed, it wasn't without danger. Several dozen National Guard members tested positive for COVID-19 in the days leading up to the ceremony. And while deadly violence and tear gas filled that Capitol building 2 weeks prior, the ceremony itself was particularly quiet. President Biden was sworn in before a national mall that was not filled with Americans, as it traditionally has been, but with nearly 200,000 flags representing the people who couldn't attend because of the pandemic. For an inside look inside of the ceremony itself, we go to Military Times Capitol Hill Bureau Chief Leo Shane.
Hey, this is Leo Shane, Capitol Hill Bureau Chief for Military Times at the inauguration for President Joe Biden. Quite a different inauguration than what we saw 4 years ago for President Trump. Several thousand Guard troops around here. No crowd, just the flags waving on the National Mall. On my way in here, I saw a lot of riot shields, a lot of rifles. So very different, but still transfer of power to the new Commander-in-Chief.
Biden also addressed the recent attack on the Capitol that were the reason behind the enhanced security at his swearing-in ceremony.
Just days after a riotous mob thought they could use violence to silence the will of the people, to stop the work of our democracy, to drive us from this sacred ground. It did not happen. It will never happen. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Not ever.
Among Biden's first acts as president was a visit to Arlington National Cemetery to pay respect to fallen troops. The Guard units mobilized to Washington, D.C. are slated to stay in the city for some time after the inauguration to help prevent further threats as the Biden administration takes office. For Defense News Weekly, I'm Daniel Woolfolk.
Thanks, Daniel. And in other military news this week, Secretary of Defense nominee, retired General Lloyd Austin III, was on Capitol Hill this week in his first appearance before Congress. Austin was in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee to face questions about how he would handle some of the biggest issues facing the military in 2021. Here's some of what he had to say.
Now, I know that a large measure of civilian control of our military lies right here with this body. And if you confirm me, I assure you that the Pentagon under my leadership will respect your oversight responsibilities, and we will be transparent with you. And I will provide you my best counsel, and I will seek yours. And just like you, I will take seriously the many challenges facing our country, the most immediate of which, in my view, is the pandemic. And if confirmed, I will quickly review the department's contributions to coronavirus relief efforts, ensuring that we're doing everything that we can to help distribute vaccines across the country and to vaccinate our troops and preserve readiness. We'll also do everything we can for our military families. They too are educating kids at home and losing their jobs and trying to stock the pantry. I know this committee shares my view that we owe them our best efforts to lighten that load. We also owe our people a working environment free of discrimination, hate, and harassment. And if confirmed, I will fight hard to stamp out sexual assault and to rid our ranks of racists and extremists, and to create a climate where everyone fit and willing has the opportunity to serve this country with dignity. The job of the Department of Defense is to keep America safe from our enemies. But we can't do that if some of those enemies lie within our own ranks. And for those enemies and adversaries outside the ranks and around the world, we need resources to match strategy, and strategy matched to policy, and policy matched to the will of the American people.